Hello, everyone. Welcome to Amazing Transformations. My name is JJ, or Vegan Knowledge JJ. And as you know, back in April of 2019, I became plant based and just reversed seasonal allergies, reversed my chronic back pain, and lost 55 pounds and have kept it off. And since then, I've been just obsessed with telling the message, my story, and everyone else's that will come on and join me. And I've been like, it's so awesome to have here Dr. Suzanne Foxx. She is a doctor, first of all, so that's amazing that we have a
I'm a
doctor on the
physical
show today.
therapist. Yeah, a
But
physical
that's still a
therapist with a
doctor.
doctorate degree.
You
Yeah.
still know more than I do. Hey, Tessa, welcome in. I'm just going to go ahead and pull up here and let everyone know a little bit about you, which I should have already had this up, but I was fooling around with the camera and did not. So, you are not only a physical therapist, but you are a author of the book. Wait a minute, let me get the name right here. Here we go. All right, so let me just read this. So I'm trying to paraphrase. But Dr. Suzanne Foxx is an award winning orthopedic physical therapist with over 15 years of experience. She specializes in helping patients recover from injuries and improve their overall physical health. She's a dedicated vegan and integrates plant based principles into her practice. She offers coaching to clients interested in adopting a plant based lifestyle to optimize health and manage chronic conditions. Her approach aligns with the guidelines recommended by the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine.
Absolutely.
She authored the book Skinny and Fit but Never Hungry a Bit. I love it because it rhymes too, and provides insights into achieving health and weight loss goals through plant based nutrition. She shares her expertise in her YouTube channel, which is awesome, and shares also recipes, which I just watched one about that vegan mac and cheese, but we'll talk about that
Oh,
later.
yeah, that's pretty good.
Uh,
Yeah.
she discusses topics related to nutrition, and it's under the name Vegan Physical Therapy Doc. And she
Yeah.
offers coaching services, which you may have seen her and her colleagues on the broadcast a couple of weeks ago on plant based coaches, where they offer personalized coaching sessions, helping clients learn about optimal food choices, shopping habits, meal timing, and exercise routines to reach their health goals. And I am so excited. There's a ton of other things, but I have to stop there so we can actually talk to you. You
Yeah.
look
Yeah. I have my
amazing.
biggest following on TikTok. That's
TikTok.
where,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. Like I have 32,000 followers on TikTok. So that's kind of nice.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. I have to do
Yeah.
a lot more on TikTok. In fact, I almost linked this on TikTok, so I will definitely
Yeah.
be sharing
Very
part of this
fun.
with
Very
you.
fun. Yeah.
And we have not only Dr. Suzanne, but her vegan dogs. Some of them are here with us today, as
Yeah.
you
This
can
is
see the
Bitsy. She's a 10-year-old poodle. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute. I love poodles. So
Yeah.
does my mom. Mom, if you're watching, we got a poodle. Again, welcome in, Tessa, and welcome, Dr. Suzanne. I really appreciate you taking time on your birthday, everyone. Say happy birthday. Well,
Yeah,
2 days
yeah,
ago,
it is. It's been great. I'm turning 26 for the 30th time. It's very, very good.
right? I love that. Let's just start out how we always do, if you don't mind telling us. Now, you've been vegan for a lot longer than me, but tell us where this got started. How did you hear about veganism? Did you grow up in that lifestyle?
No,
And how did it
no,
all get
no.
started?
Well, when I was 8 years old, I was eating a piece of chicken and I noticed that the animals were called chicken and that we were eating the chicken. And I said to my mom, what are we doing here? Is this like an actual chicken that we're eating? And she said, well, yes, that's a chicken. And I said, well, I really don't want to eat this anymore. This is terrible. And she said, oh no, 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 no. You have to eat it or you will die. And I thought, my God, that's pretty serious. So I better get with it and just eat the stuff. And I tried to put it out of my head and just went on with my life. So when I was 28 years old, I was taking a college course. I used to go to courses at night, and we had a college professor there, and she said, she would talk about different topics every day. She talked about, the embalming process, which was so cool. And then she talked about like fish and restaurants and all kinds of different things. And then one day she brought up factory farming. And I thought, my God, this cannot possibly be true. This is absolutely horrific. So I went and looked at it and I was like, unbelievable. This is horrible. I don't care if I die. I really don't care. I will never eat animals again. And from that day forward, I never ate animals again. But like most other people, I didn't realize that dairy and eggs is even worse, not only for
Mm,
the animals, but for our health. So I just kept that up from, for several years, like a decade or more, just being a vegetarian. And I had all the usual health problems associated with eating animals. I started getting hypertension. I was overweight. I had a mysterious psoriasis-like condition all over my body. And I just, I had to go to the dermatologist and all the doctors and I had to do all the stuff. And I had to have a surgical procedure and I couldn't have it because my blood pressure was too high. And I was like, well, this is stupid because I'm a physical therapist. I run 5 miles a day and I'm still overweight and I'm still got this horrible skin condition and I'm still having all these problems. And I, I just, I think I Googled what to do about this kind of stuff or what kind of diet helps get rid of some of these things. And Dr. Joel Furman's book, Eat to Live, came up. And I was like, well, this is
okay.
interesting. Let me just go buy it real quick and I'll just see what this is about. So I looked at it and I was like, it's just the words just came right off the
So,
page right at me. I couldn't believe it. I said, so it's the animal products. So I've been right this whole time, like not eating the animals, being all socially awkward, being a vegetarian everywhere you go. Well, just be a vegan, it's even worse, right? I mean, you know that. Yeah. So then
mhm.
I quit the dairy and eggs. And within 3 weeks, the whole skin condition that I'd been dealing with for years just disappeared. My blood pressure went all the way back down to normal. And within 4 or 5 months, I'd lost 20 pounds. I was like, this is incredible. This is insane. Why isn't everybody doing this? So, of course, I became like a preacher. My goodness, I was just on that bandwagon,
Mhm.
shoving this hard. I was like, are you guys crazy? Like, I cannot believe you keep eating these animals when they're doing all this to you. You've got hypertension, you've got high cholesterol, you've got diabetes, type 1 and type 2. I'm like,
Mhm.
what are we doing? What are we doing? This is so stupid. And you know how it is. It's you're preaching to an empty room of people
Right,
who
right.
don't want to hear. They're like, I don't want to hear it. So,
Yes. Like,
so I had to eventually channel that energy into people who do want to hear it, which, you have to kind of pick and choose your audience carefully or choose people that are actually ready and willing and able to hear it. And I also wrote a book about it so that I could get the message out so I could go beyond my family and friends who are well over me being like a gospel preacher of this stuff.
I know, right?
They're all
And
just
the
like,
funny thing
they
is
run
a lot
away.
of the
They don't want to hear
content
it.
we put out, we're speaking directly to them, but we put it to them, to everyone so that it doesn't look so like targeted, right?
Yeah,
Like,
they
oh,
know
look
not
at
to
this
complain to
podcast I
me.
did. Hint, hint.
Yeah, they know not to complain to me because I'll be like, well, you know where that all comes from. This all starts here, and this is where it's going, and this is why it's happening. And if you want to do something about it, I know exactly where you need to start.
I love it.
Otherwise, it's just complaining, complaining, complaining. A lot of people they complain, and maybe that's their life path. They just want to complain about stuff, and that's fine. But if they want to do something about it, Jen, we have the answer for how to feel better, get your life back, get your health optimized, get your weight optimized. I mean, it's such a good way to live. I mean, look, I'm just, this is amazing. This is amazing to be this healthy and this strong at, doing the things that I do. It is quite amazing.
And that is like the amazing thing about it is you can see the results in you. You can see the energy,
So
you
clear.
know, it doesn't matter like where,
Mm.
there are diets out there, and this is one of the things I think we can touch on. I'm kind of taking a turn here, and I want to talk about how it can affect you physically too, like because I had luck with the results from it reducing pain, and I know you're a physical therapist. But before
Yeah.
we dive into that, let's talk about that first topic I wanted to discuss. So when you first go vegan, you're like, what am I going to eat? Like, so of course we all think that we're going to starve and go hungry, right? So I love that your book tells people that little nuance in there that you can actually feel satisfied. Like, I'm never hungry on this diet
Yeah.
and I never gain weight, like
Yeah.
unless I know that I, would go off into a,
Yeah, if you start
holiday
eating
land
junk
of
food, yeah,
junk
like
treats, right?
you
But
can, like what I've noticed about this whole diet plan, because I've been doing this for 12 years now. And the thing I've noticed, because you have to live in the real world and there are other people and there are occasions and there are things that happen. And I noticed you can do about, if you're going to eat garbage food, as I call it, I never eat anything that isn't vegan, of course. But if I'm
right.
going to eat garbage food, you can do about 200 to 300 calories a day, and that's it. And that's
Hmm.
it. That's the cutoff part. You can't do any more than that, or you will become overweight and sick with all of the sequelae that follow that. You will end up sick and fat. Yeah, that's just what will happen.
And I love the fact that, so many people come into it for ethical reasons, as,
Yeah.
like you did. And then they kind of are vegetarian because we think we're not harming animals. And then I love the way you talked about when
Worst.
you found
Yeah.
out about that all those skin conditions cleared up. It's just that one more thing that people, like, when they figure that out, it seems that's when a lot of the really big health changes happen.
Well, I,
And
I don't think there's any difference between animal eaters and vegetarians, to be honest.
mhm,
I think
it's
that that's
still
the
animal
same
product.
situation. I call them animal eaters because they are eating animals. That is what they're doing. They're animal eaters. That's what they're doing. So if you're going to eat the animals, you are going to suffer the diseases that come with that, whether it's in the forms of eggs and dairy, cheese, yogurt, all of those things are going to cause you the same trouble as if you're eating steak and chicken and fish. It's all the same, causes the same health problems.
And what like is interesting is it manifests itself differently. It doesn't always, like we thought, as a kid, when I heard someone was lactose intolerant, before I knew we all were lactose intolerant, I was thinking it meant, oh, I have an upset stomach and people are taking a capsule of some kind or some kind of medication and it makes them okay with it. But it's like, think about the real, thing if you gave it up. But it's like usually skin conditions. And I noticed you mentioned that there's
Mhm.
a plant, a vegan, a lot of vegans that I follow, but a lot, especially like the high raw, that have gotten rid of acne and eczema, and even like some younger people who were suffering with that have gotten, rid of skin conditions, because we don't realize that the dairy, I think, is what's causing that inflammation, or our body to try to extract it, I think, out of us,
Yeah,
and
it's
and
the
that.
eggs and the dairy for sure. I have so many patients, their kids are just torn up with this horrible eczema all over their bodies. And I would say, hey, did your doctor tell you to stop giving this kid eggs and milk? Because I have a feeling that this stuff will go away if you just stop doing that. I mean, I would like to go back and tell my dermatologist that I, cleared up my skin, but I don't have to go back there. And who wants to pay the copay, right? So there you go.
Exactly. And I think one of the things that holds us up from getting started with things, even, people that might be watching this, say on my Facebook page or your Facebook page and or YouTube, that are new to this and say, this all sounds good, but what in the world would I eat? Can you kind of take us through? And I know you're a coach, so we have the links, we're going to share here to her TikTok and her plant-based
Appreciate
coaches.
that. Yeah.
But what is like a plan, like what would be a normal day of eating for you, but also like kind of your recommended stuff? I've noticed some of your videos you talk about, that you never are hungry, these good foods that you're sharing. So what kind of plan do you kind of incorporate in your teachings?
Well, I tell people, you can't go too far off what you're already eating. Otherwise, you're just going to rebel and not do it. So if you're a scrambled egg kind of person, then you should do a tofu scramble for breakfast in the morning.
Mhm.
But I, for me personally, I like a big bowl of corn grits. I know it's kind of a weird dish, but I like a big bowl of corn grits with some almond milk on top, or I have two bananas. That's my usual go-to breakfast. And
Mhm.
then for lunch, I always have this giant salad, or I'll order at, I know this is terrible, this is fast food options, it's Chipotle with just
Oh my gosh, I love
the
that.
vegetarian, the vegan
Mhm.
burrito from Chipotle. And then for supper, of course, I'm a big spaghetti and fan. I love to eat spaghetti with marinara sauce. And, you put the mushrooms and the onions and the green peppers and everything into the sauce, which, makes it more vegetable friendly. But you can literally eat all the pasta you want because it's full of water. It's full of water and it keeps you very full. And I know everybody is so terrified of pasta and potatoes and rice. And yet, if you look at the countries in the world where the skinniest, healthiest people live, that is their main go-to dishes. You know, I think humans are meant to eat roots and fruits. I mean, that's basically what it
Mhm.
comes down to evolutionarily speaking. So if we can get some of those big root vegetables, you know, we love them too. They taste delicious. You know, two
Mhm.
baked sweet potatoes with a little bit of brown sugar and a little bit of salt. My
Yeah.
God, that is heaven on earth. That's delicious. And you can literally eat as many of those as you want. I did have a client who she was shocked when I told her that she had already failed bariatric surgery and was back up close to 300
Mm.
pounds again. So
Wow.
she was on 4 blood pressure medications and her eyes were just shocked when I was telling her, you can have all the pasta and all of the baked sweet potatoes that you want. And so she just really adopted the baked sweet potatoes and broccoli approach. And
Yeah.
she ate so like we got her all the way down to 150 as her new normal and off all of her blood pressure medication. So that is saying a lot. That's quite a difference. We really did
That's
change her life
amazing.
just by saying eat an unlimited amount of baked sweet potatoes. You cannot hurt yourself with them. You
That is
know?
awesome. And
Yeah.
people like like you said, that's, stigma on that kind of food. And while it's like, I did a video like a couple of weeks ago saying there are many different kind of vegan diets, and people don't, I think, realize that when they come into this. A lot of people see maybe my content where I'm having smoothies and salads and things like that over the time. A lot of the time I've been vegan. I mean, I've circled in and out of different approaches with it too. Like went into, like you said, a lot of Chipotle, and I mean, like a lot, like every day Chipotle at one
Yeah,
point
that's
when
like a
we first
once every
figured that
2 or 3 week
out.
kind of
Right.
thing, you know?
So you can do it different ways though. Like if you're transitioning, especially in the beginning for ethical reasons for animals, there's different approaches to that. And that's why I love having people that eat different types of vegan diets, but still are in a healthy state where they've reversed, disease, because there's also like this thing of, oh, I don't want to eat that because I saw this one vegan and he eats, maybe I saw him eating fruit, so I don't want to eat that much fruit. I think adding it in, sneaking it in, like you said, is how most people can start too. You can still, you're having vegetables, like you said, you eat pasta, and if you put a bunch of vegetables in that, you're still getting your vegetables in.
I don't just eat pasta, I eat giant amounts of pasta. And that is the key because what it is it's filling up my belly. It's whole wheat pasta. It's
Hmm.
whole wheat pasta. So it has a little bit of fiber to it. And that
Hmm.
is filling up my stomach to the point where I am not hungry. And that's the whole point. That was the point of my book, Skinny and Fit,
Exactly.
but Never Hungry a Bit. If you eat these bananas, rice, potatoes, all those things are very filling and they have a lot of fiber to them. And they work the same way GLP-1s do. I was
Hmm.
at that conference at the medical conference. The Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine has a conference, a health conference every August. And I was there last year and they were talking about the GLP-1 medications. And what they're basically doing is mimicking 30 to 50 grams of fiber a day. Because if you eat 30 to 50 grams of fiber a day, you will have the same effect on you, on your whole body, without the side effects of those GLP-1 medications, which can be very serious. You know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense, and I think a lot of medicine, they're mimicking kind of what we could already get in our food,
Yeah.
and then it's also got these negative side effects with it. And that's another thing I wanted to say. Like when we look at it with like, when did you get into physical therapy? I see Tessa's comment that she said, I know physical therapy helps a lot of people. I've never really found it, I haven't found it helpful yet herself. But what is, like, when did you get into that, and when did you start incorporating, like, you were already vegan and you started incorporating that into those principles into it, and your book and things? I think you add like that fresh approach for people to give them a different way, but also help them transition easier. And how
Yeah.
important is it when it comes to like our healing of physical problems?
Yeah, let me show you. Just I'll walk you through my office here a little bit. Up at the front of my office, I actually have like a whole table set up
Hmm.
with exactly here. I'll show you guys. When
I
you
love
come
it. We're
into my
going on a
office, this is
tour.
what you see.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I've got all the plant-based books here. There's my book, of course, and the China Study and Eat to Live, which were two most influential books that I have ever had. And then I have this free plan I give, and I write almost all chronic disease is caused by or made worse by eating animals, animal products, and oil. And that is on right on the front desk when anybody comes in. That's the first thing they see. So
I
it's
love
pretty
that.
integrated in.
Yes. And I think a lot of people hear about this by mistake. Like you said, one of your professors said something that sparked you, and maybe someone that is on our friends list at this point that wouldn't, have known, or somebody that comes across one of these videos, maybe they're looking for something else. They're looking, because I think one of the big things I wanted to name it this because we think we're always going to be starving. So I love that you show people how to do this the right way.
In
And
fact,
then
in fact, I
they might,
tell them, I think it's really important to emphasize that. I always tell them, please, please, please eat until you are a little bit uncomfortably full so that when you go into the real world, you're going to be bombarded. There's Reese's peanut butter cups and big bags of chips and all kinds of those giant Starbucks drinks. They're just a little quick run through the drive-through away. And if you are hungry, even a little
yeah.
tiny bit, that stuff is going to speak to you and you're not going to be able to get anything done because, it's your basic human need to be full and be, you don't want to be, you have to do that. So I would
Hmm.
tell them if you eat 3 baked sweet potatoes and then you go to work and they're serving donuts or somebody brought donuts from Dunkin' Donuts. Now we're humans. You're probably going to eat a half a donut, but you're not going to be able to eat any more than that. You're not going to be able to get it down. Whereas if you hadn't eaten those 3 baked sweet potatoes, you might eat 3 or 4 donuts.
That's true.
It's so
Yeah.
true. You're just a human. You have to accept this is a meat suit. It's going to do what it's going to do. You're going
Yeah.
to do what you have to do. You're going to eat the food if it's in front of you. And then a lot of people have like a lot of social stuff about that too, where, they
Hmm.
want to go to a party or something like that. And they're concerned about the junk food that's going to be served. I always tell them eat a giant bowl of oatmeal, 3 bananas and 2 oranges before you go. And there's no way you're going to be able to eat that food. No way. They're going to have it there. Your eyes are going to be, you're just going to be so full. You can't do it. You're just there to enjoy the company.
Because we've always been that fool where it's like, even if it looks good, it's like, do you want some? No, I can't even touch anything right now, right?
Yeah, I'm just
So
so
definitely.
stuffed. And that's the point. Stay that full of the food you're supposed to eat so you won't be eating a bunch of garbage all the time.
And there's a thing like delay. Like I know, like for me, like if I have like a salad with like filling stuff in it too, like avocado, or like, if some people like walnuts or something, even when you're eating a salad, there's a way to make it filling. Like anybody would just still be hungry if you ate a small bowl of lettuce and cucumber. I think
Yeah.
when people go into a healthy diet, the caloric density of the food is a lot better, so we can eat more food and not have to worry about, like, there's the one plan out there where people are counting their points or macros. It's so difficult because who wants to have a half of this or a half of that? You're still hungry, so your brain the whole
And it
time is
doesn't
looking
even
for
work
what
because you
else can
sat
I
there and
get.
you're like, okay, well, I ate this and that was 500 calories. So now I have to wait. And then you're just starving to death. And it's not
No way to live,
sustainable.
right?
It's
It's
not
not normal.
sustainable. You can,
Hmm.
you can do it. Like you can hang by your toenails from the ceiling for 3 weeks, but eventually you're going to come down and you're going to really make up for lost time by stuffing yourself with all kinds of garbage. The way that we're eating, you never hit that point. And
Hmm.
people say, like, I'm an emotional overeater. I'm like, good, go ahead. Have 3 baked
But
sweet
eat the right
potatoes. Go
stuff,
ahead.
right?
Have it. Have at it. There is no way that your body will allow you to eat more than 3 or 4 of those things. I promise you. Your stomach will be so full, it'll feel like a lead balloon. There's no way any more is getting in there. And even if you were able to stuff it in there, you can't. It's like I like the way they say, if there's gazelles that are feeding on the grass that's outside, and if
Hmm.
there's a really good, if there's a really good year and there's more grass than usual, then you just have more gazelles. None of the gazelles are overweight. There's just more gazelles because
Right.
they
That's
reproduced.
true. Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So
good. I
the
like
animals out in the natural wild, they don't get overweight. They just make more babies if there's extra resources. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
Um,
house pets, human house pets and humans
mhm.
themselves, these are the only two species that end up overweight because we're eating the wrong food. It's just the wrong food.
Yeah, because they like I think you're right. It's so funny, like the cat will beg and beg and beg for food if I'm running behind or something after work. I run over on a call, let's just say, and the cat knows what time it eats, right? So it's starting to get hungry and it wants that can of food or whatever. Like when your pets want something, you ever notice they do all that and then they take like 10 bites and then walk away from it.
Yeah, they're
But in
done.
the wild, or like you said, if it were a really natural diet, like not processed in the domesticated sense, we would be eating things that, would fill us up and we wouldn't have to overeat. But we're, like you said, in a different world. So,
Yeah, the oils and the animal products. Because even back, people try to say, well, we've been eating like this for thousands and thousands of years. Not really. No, it's the roots and the fruits and the gathering was 95% of the whole diet. And the men went off and sometimes they hunted and sometimes they were successful. But even when they went off to hunt and were successful, that's heavy to carry back all that stuff. So they would eat most of it out there, enjoying themselves. They bring back a little teeny tiny bit. And it would trickle down and maybe you'd get a little small bite, 3 or 4 times a year, you'd get a small bite of animal. I mean,
mhm,
and that was kind of necessary to get you through the winter when there wasn't a lot of fresh produce around for you to eat. But
mhm,
human beings as a whole have not been on meat heavy diets. I mean, this is the way people eat now. It's, eggs with cheese for breakfast, followed
mhm.
by some kind of mashed potatoes with meatloaf or
Butter.
something for lunch, or all those burgers and fries and tons of chicken, all those chicken nuggets and things. And then for supper, they just, steaks and all kinds of shrimp and steaks and fish and all kinds of things that you can't eat like that. You're going to get colon cancer if you keep that up. And that's rampant. So that's exactly what is happening. It's really sad.
It's funny because I heard also, I think you mentioned this on one of the other podcasts that I wanted to talk about for a second, that our, bodies are like, I guess, when people try to say this is what we're meant to eat, like we wouldn't run and jump and attack an animal outside, is what I try to tell people. Nature didn't make us to have those instincts. Like we don't have the instinct to want to eat raw meat. In fact, we can't.
Mm-mm.
In
It's
most cases,
disgusting to us. It's
we don't have the
disgusting. Yeah.
acidic level, right? I mean, like, what are some things that tell us with our digestive tract, like, it doesn't even make sense that we would eat meat, but
Well,
that's
I don't
we
know if
have
you've
to
had
cook
the
it.
I don't know if you've looked at Dr. Milton Mills has an excellent YouTube video that's about an hour long about are humans meant to eat
I
meat?
love that.
And I mean, he goes into the fact that of females of all species everywhere are designed to nurture and protect their children without male help, because males can be, somewhat flaky in their whether they're available or not. I mean, it's nice when they're there, but they don't have to be in order for the species to survive. And he says how, like the dog is shaped like this and their ribs go like this. And when they're fighting to eat another animal, their teeth are out here in front so they can kill a rat up here. But
Hmm.
women, when they're pregnant, they stand upright and their belly is sticking out. There's no way that we could kill and eat prey like that. And then we can't eat
Right.
it with our teeth. So what our hands are for grasping fruits and for digging up root vegetables, and we can eat those things easily, maintain a pregnancy well, give
Hmm.
birth, and then go right back to things as usual.
I
I think
love
I
that.
love the way he puts, I mean, he just breaks it down so well, just from the way that we're shaped, the way that our everything is, our vision, everything is set up, and the fact that animal products gross us out unless they are cooked and prepared in such a way that we can't tell they come from animals. People freak out when every once in a while there's a McDonald's that accidentally serves up a chicken head or something, and people just, oh my God, a chicken head. If you were a real animal eater, you would be delighted with
Like,
that. You'd be like, oh
nice.
my
They left
God, an
the head
extra piece.
on.
I get the chicken head. Oh my God. That would, it doesn't, I mean, the dog would be very happy to eat that. They'd be like, yes, extra piece for me. That's how you can tell that that is part of their natural background, even if it's not healthy for them. We
Hmm.
would never do that. We are horrified. If we get a fingernail, a piece of hair, a feather in our food, oh my God, we freak
Right.
out.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
we
a good
freak
point
out. We're like,
too.
ah, I can't believe it. Whereas an animal eater would be like, bring it on, more of it even. Yes. coat
And
that thing in blood and shove it down, because that's a true animal eater response.
then the I think he also mentions, I've heard it a lot. I don't know if he mentioned it. I haven't seen his video in a while, but the way that our teeth go like a circular motion when we
They're
chew, we're
side to side.
extracting nutrients.
Yeah.
Animals, when it's hard for them to
Well,
even get food
this
out
is
of your
scissors
hand.
bites. Yeah, it's a scissors bite. Dogs have a scissors rip and tear mechanism. So they're not even, they just gulp, gulp, swallow. They don't even taste it. This is gulp, gulp, swallow. That's the way their whole head is set up. They can't go side to side because they're not supposed to chew their food, you
Right.
know?
And then digestive tract is shorter on a carnivore, so
Way
that
shorter, because you can't have,
nutrients.
it's 4 to 6 hours on a dog. So when you
Right.
put it in, 6 hours later, it's coming back out. So it doesn't really have time to rot and cause all kinds of chaos on their insides because it's already gone.
And that's what I think a lot of the problems. And I understand that we live in a world where some people, it's like, oh, but we have to have, I'm gonna say it, oh, let me see, I once thought it was rude not to eat at social events. Before I move on to this next,
Yeah.
the P word, I once
Oh,
thought it was rude to not eat at social events. Since I've changed my mindset, well, I'm putting my well-being first.
yeah.
Exactly. I think we have to remember that we're the ones that's got to suffer the consequences. They're not going to wake up the next day inflamed and,
Yeah.
everything going on and gaining weight. I'm a food addict. If I didn't eat whole food plant based, no doubt I would be obese again. Richard Hubbard, another one of the plant based coaches that works with Suzanne, he has been on here. Yeah, you have an amazing story, Richard, and
He
that's so
does. He
true. And
does.
whole food plant based.
160 pounds gone and never coming back. I mean, there's not much more you can say about that. That's fantastic.
It's all got
Yeah.
to start somewhere too. I tell people, like, there is that one moment, that pivotal moment in all of our lives when we talk about how we became plant-based, and it seems like so much, especially if you're overweight and you think, oh, well, that's going to take forever, but somewhere it has to start, and things add up pretty quickly on the other
It's
way
six to
around.
eight months. It's 6 to 8 months. And if you're seriously, seriously overweight, it's about a year. I mean,
Hmm.
it's that easy. It's
And you
that
can
easy.
still
Within
enjoy
four
life.
months, the difference will be like right now, it's June 1st, July, August, September, October. People watching you by Halloween, they could be in there very close to their dream body, very close in 4 short months. It's all
That's
up here and
amazing.
it's all just what you put on your plate. And it's 80% what you put on your plate, because everybody always tries to say, oh, I'm going to do Pilates. I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to do all this stuff. I go to the gym almost every day. That place is filled with overweight, itchy people. It is sad. It is so sad that they are sitting there and they are working hard too. They're not just doing nothing. They are working extremely hard, and yet they are so overweight because they're going to leave there and then they're going to go over to Starbucks and they're going to get this giant 1,000-calorie coffee with
To
whipped
reward
topping on
themselves,
top,
right?
and they're going to get, stop at the burger place or some chicken. They're going to get that on their way home, and they're just going to be contributing to the problem that keeps bringing them back to the gym. And then they're going to be wondering why they need stents in their heart, why they have to take all this medication, even though they go to the gym all the time, because it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. Their muscles will be a little bit bigger, but they won't have done much else. It's really sad.
I had no idea what this like that how that meant, because every day, like when I was overweight, I would get on an exercise bike literally every morning. I was faithful with it, and I would work out in one of those, like
The
suits and
suit,
things, and try to
not the
sweat it out.
suit.
I did the suit, and I would thought, you know what? And I'm not eating all day. Like, obviously, I thought that was good. I was intermittent fasting. I was
Oh,
doing a workout every morning, and I was still like 100 and almost 190 pounds
I know,
every
I know,
day.
I
And I
know.
was
It is so
eating
sad.
one meal
I
a day,
think,
but the
oh,
dairy was
the
doing it.
people who do the intermittent fasting are the biggest and the most unhealthy. I think it's just another form of eating disorder, honestly. I'm like, please, for the love of God, do not do that. You will somehow figure out how to get 8,000 calories in your 6 hour window. It is
Hmm.
not healthy. That is not a good thing to do. And they
You
think that all
definitely.
the saddest thing is they have so much self discipline to just push it all down and force themselves through this entire horror show of a day, starving to death, shaking and freaking out, force themselves to go to the gym and work out for an hour and then feast on nothing but garbage for 6 straight hours and manage to just undo everything that they've done plus cause more damage. It is so awful. That is just an awful way of doing things. If you don't want your 12-year-old child to do it, it is probably called an eating disorder, you know?
That's a good point. I think our bodies, we forget, like, when I take it back all the way to the core of things, our bodies are really smart and they know what to do. So if you are starving and you're that hungry, if you put the right thing in, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Like, forcing our bodies to not do something is like, it's different if it's something like you're trying to switch, like, okay, I'm trying to eat, maybe I'm trying to eat fruit and oatmeal for breakfast instead of an egg. But like, the difference of your mindset is your body starts to know what to do and it starts to crave what you're giving it. And I find that if you're in a rut with, you're not working out, you're not eating right, once you start changing your diet, it's like your energy comes back. So you're like a different person in a couple of weeks. So you can get on that, elliptical or whatever it is that you use. And
Well, you
like,
want to,
you
because your
want
gut
to.
microbiome is telling you, hey, this might be a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're just eating a bunch of chicken tenders and cheese, your gut microbiome is like, no, we do not have the energy. This is taking us 8 to 12 hours just to put this fat away in the cells and just get back to some kind of a normal homeostasis where we can begin a repair process. But if you don't eat all that fat and garbage, I mean, your body is always in a state of repair and it's always in a state of maintenance. So you can go to the gym anytime you like, you know?
And talk to us about working out. As far as, I think I've heard you mentioning, how we talk about people that work out. You might see this a lot in physical therapy, maybe even, men and women, but that work out a lot. They feel like they need all kinds of protein to
Oh,
build
no.
muscle. And
No,
they
no, no, no,
also
no.
feel like women say we need milk for calcium for
No,
our
no,
bones.
God, no. No, in fact, it's so hard because like my patients, they come and see me 2 or 3 times a week for 8 to 12 weeks. And I just try to emphasize over and over and over again how much they've been lied to by the animal agriculture industry. So I have a favorite story that I like to tell about one of the most beautiful patients I have ever had. And this was a man who came from the Congo in Africa. And he had lived on a refugee camp most of his life. And he came to me for a injury that was work related. And he was in his late 30s, looked like a 22-year-old, just skin beautiful, face beautiful, not a wrinkle, not a gray hair anywhere, muscles rippling, just a beautiful, beautiful human being. And he ate nothing. And I do mean nothing except something called corn fufu. So because I quizzed him extensively about this because I couldn't believe it. For
Fufu.
breakfast, he
Interesting. I
would
thought
take
I'd had every corn
corn
dish.
fufu and he'd put it in a bowl and he'd mix hot water, mix it like that, eat it with his hands. That's breakfast. He'd eat that for lunch. He'd eat that for supper. And the next day he would repeat the process. And he had been doing that for all of his 30 something years of life because he grew up on a refugee camp and that's how they ate there as well.
Mhm.
Every once in a while, he would throw in a piece of fruit. And every once in a while, he would have whatever his friends were having at work. But before even he emphasized to me, he said his friends at work, his new friends at work would invite him out for pizza or something, but he would eat his corn fufu first and then he'd go out for a piece of pizza and he couldn't believe all the garbage they were eating. And I mean, I'm talking rippled abs, ripped biceps. This guy and he didn't even hardly work out. He worked out a tiny bit, not nearly as much as people think you have to. Now, obviously, because of where he grew up and the circumstances in which he lived his entire life, his whole intestinal setup is set up to extract every single nutrient possible from that corn fufu.
Mhm.
But I mean, that is all he ate, literally all he ate, and he did perfectly on that. It's almost like how Dr. John McDougall used to say, you can live for well over a year on nothing but potatoes and you'd be
Mhm.
absolutely fine. And that's basically what this guy was doing. And I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes. It was perfect. And that's the thing is the overemphasis on protein is insanity.
Mhm.
When we are babies and we are first born, that is when our protein needs are the highest that they will ever be in our entire life. We're basically going to go from 7 pounds to 21 pounds, developing all kinds of structures between the ages of 0 and 1. And we're going to do 6 months of that only on our mother's milk. And our mother's milk contains 4 to 6% of its calories from protein. The rest is fat and carbohydrate. So if we were growing the fastest that we will ever grow in our entire lives on 4 to 6% of protein, the calories coming from protein, why do we need more than that now? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And that's, I mean, we are never going to grow that fast again. And when you're growing, protein it causes growth. And then you get all these people with like these weird bumps and like these little ticks and tags and all those little fatty lumps all over them as they age. I
Mhm.
think I think what's happening is that your body is getting excess protein, and just like any job site, if you get a job site where they keep loading bricks and more bricks, people are going to come up with creative ways of using that. Like, how about we make a gazebo over here, and how about we do this over
Oh,
here?
that's
So
so
your body's
interesting.
like, well, heck, we got all this extra stuff. Let's start piling it up over here, and then you get these nasty, gross tumor looking things. And even if they're benign, they're ugly. And I mean, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
I
That's what I think
love
is
that. I
happening. It's
never thought of that.
excess building material. We don't need excess building material. We want energy. We want energy and we want hydration with a little bit of building material dropped off at exactly the right time. And there's literally no such thing as protein deficiency in people who eat enough calories to maintain their weight. It's impossible. It's
And I
impossible.
think that's the thing about eating enough, the calories. That's where people run into a lot of problems, especially either in the space that I'm in, like, or have been watching a lot of content and over the years because of raw, food and high raw, whatever. But you're not
Mhm.
eating enough. Like you can't eat the same caloric density, like you can't eat the same size plate as you did when you were eating
Oh yeah,
the
you're
stuff that
definitely gonna have to pick up the pace. Yeah, you can't just eat
and your
one
body will
banana.
catch
You have
up,
to
but
eat
at
four
first,
bananas. Yeah, it's 400
yeah.
calories. You're gonna need, if you're used to eating a 600 calorie breakfast, you
Yeah,
definitely need 400 calories worth of bananas, which is four
which
bananas.
is weird to us in the beginning. Like eventually your
Yeah.
body will that's one of the things I had to go through because I told you guys my story. I was losing like I kept losing weight because I was eating a bunch of lettuce and cucumbers and
You're getting to
thinking
be like a little stick.
yeah, I was doing it like my standard American diet where I could only have that one Chipotle meal,
Yeah,
but I realized, okay, now I'm being, geez, I can up this game. I can have
yeah.
fruit. I can have four bananas instead of two. Like, I don't always eat four bananas now because I think your body knows what it
Yeah, well,
needs
if you
after
want
a
it, you
while.
want it, but if you don't, you don't. Yeah,
Yeah, but in
that's
the
the beauty of it
beginning,
all.
it's
I always
important.
think it's a good idea to download like MyFitnessPal or something like
Hmm.
that, and just you don't have to keep track of it forever. If you just keep track of a couple of days, then you know exactly what everything. Most people eat the same 4 to 6 things every single week. They're doing that same thing anyway. So as long as you know approximately what's going on, and you can buy one of those. I got one from eTech City, but it's like a body parameter scale. You can stand on that scale and it'll tell you what percentage of you is fat, what percentage of you is
Oh, I
muscle,
want
what
one of
percentage of you is
those.
protein. And I like to tell everybody, and I'll send you the picture so you can put a little blurb up right here where I've been a vegan for well over 12, 13 years now. I still have high protein and I have high bone density, and I have everything's in the high range. Everything's in the ideal category. And I just like to tell people that because they always freak out, like, where do you get your protein? Where do you get your calcium? And I'm just like, obviously it's not a problem because you can see it's perfect right here.
My
Yeah, but
sister
those are
got
really
me a
good.
shirt
But
that
it'll tell
says
you
that.
on that scale when you get the readout, it'll tell you your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. So if you were just laying in a bed doing absolutely nothing for 24 hours, that's how much calories your body would require. So in my case, it's around 1460. And then I add about 500 calories to that for what my activity is per day. So if I, I don't do it all the time, but if I add up my calories, I notice if I eat somewhere between 1,700 and 2,000 calories a day, everything stays perfect and everything's wonderful, you know?
That's awesome. Thanks for
Yeah.
that
It's
update
good
because
to
that
know. It's
makes
good to know. Those
sense.
are your little tools that are available. And those are what I use for my coaching clients too. I'm like, nope, you got to get this and you got to get this so that we can make sure
Yeah.
you're doing things in the ideal range, you know?
I think there's so much noise, as they say out there. Like there's so many, try this and the cookie diet and this sugar thing and all these carnivore things. It's so much out there where it's like you don't need all of this like craziness. Have somebody like you that can look, let's sit down, let's talk about where you are, what you eat, help you with a meal plan, and how many calories you need. And so that somebody that's done it, I think, is so important, because if we start trying the different things, we're like shocking our body into different things. Like, I ate potatoes for 2 weeks, and then I went into this and went into that, and then you're always hungry. And it's like, and I wanted to say, when you were talking about that with the protein, how your body like knows, and it's if it's too much of something, it's going to start forming these things coming off your skin.
Oh
I was
yeah,
thinking
people get
about
gross stuff. Yeah.
an actual piece of fruit. If you think about it, how you said that's really like a perfect food, let's say, for human fruit and roots, how you were saying, like, if we
Hmm.
look at either one of those, the ratios in that are almost perfect for us, and we just have to increase those. So like if we
It's your
look at,
mother's milk. It's your mother's milk in a piece
yeah,
of
it's like the
of
4% protein, that you don't need 100. I mean, I do think there
Mm-mm.
is a
Just
need
think
for
about that
some.
man from the Congo and how ripped his muscles were. That's all you got to think about. He was just eating nothing but corn.
Hmm. Watch out, you're going to come
For
up with a corn
years,
diet. You're
for
going to have people eating
years.
corn. I'm on the ear diet. I eat ears of corn. That's it. I'm just
I mean,
kidding.
that was crazy. That was crazy. Just, I mean, I couldn't believe it. I kept asking him, do you add this to it? Do you do that? Do you
Is
do
it like a
this? Do you do that?
cornmeal? What
I
was that?
couldn't stop asking questions about it. I just was like, and he didn't even stay
Interesting.
long because, of course, he healed overnight because he was so healthy.
Right. And that's gotta be, I've heard you talking about this too. Like I saw the beginning of one of your podcasts you did, and I could just see, and I see it now, you have this energy and this like passion about this transformation for people, because once you've realized it for yourself and seen things heal, and now you do it in your professional career with seeing people go from injured to back feeling
Yeah.
good, and then it's like the same kind of thing. It's like, how important is that to you, like the transformations for people? Is it amazing for you to
Oh,
see?
it's the best feeling in the whole world. I don't, it's like Christmas every day around here. I'm just, and I've had so many patients. Like I had a patient that was seeing me for a serious car accident. So they were here for a long, long time. And this person was seriously overweight, like well into the 300-pound range, just really bad. And of course they were telling me, oh, I just eat nothing but chicken and lettuce all day, every day, which is, it's obviously what they're telling themselves. They're very delusional about it. And I was talking and talking and talking and talking and talking to them while they were here. And I figured I was preaching, I was just talking to the wall, basically. I had literally no idea that they were actually listening. I'm like, no, have you tried this? I'm gonna try this smoothie. I got this recipe for you. Here's a little handout. Why don't you try this? You've ever tried this? You might want to try that. It's just help you heal faster, blah, 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 blah. On and on, right? So, the person eventually finished with their treatment and they were gone. And 8 months later, they were up at my front desk, but I didn't even recognize them. I walked up to the front desk. It was at lunchtime or something when everything's kind of closed down. And I heard the door open. I walk up there and I'm like, can I help you? And as soon as they started talking, I'm like, oh my God, is that what happened? And they were like, I did everything you told me to do. And look at me. Look at me. Look
That's
what this, look what happened. It worked.
awesome.
It worked. Look at
Wow.
me now. Look at me now. They had lost well over 100 pounds. We're at the gym all the time. It was just an amazing transformation, just absolutely amazing. Just needed that little bit of, it's kind of a permission to do what you know is the right thing to do. And that's how
Hmm.
it was when I looked at that book, Eat to Live by Dr. Joel Furman. It
Hmm.
was permission to do what I knew was already the right thing to do. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
And we hold ourselves back. Like you said, there's a lot of social things out there. We think our whole life is going to have to change, but we realize that our life is always changing. We're not the same person that we were when we were 2 years old, and we grew. So, went into a different phase of
Well, you're
life. And
conditioned
sometimes,
by society. Like my mom told me I would die if I didn't eat the chicken. And she
mhm.
truly believes that even now. She's trying to figure out why I'm not dead already. She
My
calls
mom
me
might
a
be the same
militant
too. Love you,
vegan. Yes,
mom, but
I'm a
you might be
militant
the
vegan, an extremist of some kind. She's the one that, is in the hospital all the time getting all these procedures and things that are happening because of the chicken and cheese. It's horrible. I'm just like, it's death by chicken and cheese. It's horrible. It's horrible to watch that happening and to know it's happening and to know that you literally have to just be
same.
quiet and not say anything. It's heartbreaking to watch,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
really hard, like managing relationships with people that you love and not trying
Yeah.
to be wait, do I still have it here? Let me see. I
To
can't
be an
find.
over controlling crazy person, ripping things out of their body, out of their hands and throwing them in the garbage.
My mom got me this as a
What does it
joke.
say?
Trust me, I'm a doctor, and obviously I'm not, but she always calls me Dr. JJ because the minute anybody in the family says anything's wrong, immediately a meal plan comes. I'm like, this is my way in. Like,
I
okay,
know,
you
you're
gotta
like,
get up,
it's
get
almost like
upstairs.
I saw this awesome YouTube video several years ago, and it was this woman who had a like a stake driven through the middle of her forehead. And she kept talking about how all her sweaters were snagging. She had this horrible headache.
Oh my
She
gosh,
couldn't
I
get rid of
saw that.
she couldn't get rid of it. And her husband kept saying, well, you know, if we could just pull that thing, the nail out of the middle of your forehead, if we could just grab it and just pull it. She's like, it's not about the nail. Stop talking about the nail. That's not the problem. And you're just like, ah, it is the problem. It is the problem. It's always the food. It's the food. It's the food. If you could just pull that freaking nail out of their forehead, they'll feel so much better, but they won't. You know,
You
I
know,
kind of really
I
identify
get it.
with Dr. Walter Kempner, who like put his patients in a locked ward. He locked them up and he wouldn't let them out. And they had to eat only, what is it, white rice and fruit juice until all their health problems went away. And of course they all did. So that was pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, I kind of really identify with that. You just have to like calm down and just let people eat a bunch of garbage. Just let it happen and just take good care of yourself and be the example and let people come to you who want your help.
Let it overflow into the world in ways and we can't push
Yeah.
it, right? Because we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of pushes people the other way. I've noticed I have to wait for it. Like, you have to put it out there. I don't say don't. I don't not open my mouth, but I also don't do it in the same way, like you said, that we all did it when we first got into the lifestyle. And well, there's two things. If do you have a few more minutes? I know I've kept you too
Absolutely.
long.
Yeah.
But I think I used to be that way. Like until this happened by mistake, the other things I just wanted to lose weight. That's why I went on at the time what I thought was extreme doing this lifestyle. But then I realized the back pain went away and
Yeah.
the allergies went
Circulation
away. It was like
improved.
circulation. I just felt like I was back, and I'm like, wait, so food has something to do, like you don't need medicine for pain. Like I think we
Everything.
think of this hurts, I have to take this to get
Everything.
rid of
Yeah.
it and never look at the root cause. We think of it when it comes to weight loss. Somehow that matches up like, oh, I know if I eat good, I might lose weight. But then we get all confused about what to eat. Like you said, we eat chicken and ranch. But like the thing about that is that I can identify with people even though we're kind of joking about it because literally I was that person. So like we understand where you were. We all thought that didn't know this stuff connected. So what's worst thing you can do if you're in pain is to try it because it has worked for me multiple times. I was telling you about when I would go through periods, emotional eating or whatever with processed foods. Eventually not my back pain never came back, but I start getting my knees feel inflamed. I'm not able to do the little same thing. I'm not getting up the steps the same. Like even within vegan diet, the high sodium affects me. My ankles started swelling at one time when I started eating a lot of salty foods. So like I feel like it matters so much what we're eating. How important is it for like your patients? Like how do they recover quicker? I'm sure yes, but like just to give examples because you deal with people every day, when people do
Yeah.
follow your plan, do they get better quicker with pain and stuff?
Yes, yes, they did. They get better get better quicker, and they shed most of their chronic diseases. But like even me, like I was a whole food plant based vegan who got diagnosed with lupus. So I mean
Mm-hmm,
that's pretty serious. And the way I look at it is, if I had not been eating the way that I do, I probably would have been diagnosed with lupus in my 30s instead of my 50s. Do you know what I'm
mm-hmm,
talking about? So
mm-hmm,
obviously I put it off for 20 years. I'm not going to stop the process, but I'm going to slow it down significantly. And
mm-hmm,
sometimes when you end up with a problem like that, like when I got diagnosed with lupus, I had been feeding my husband a lot of Impossible burgers and things, and I had been adding a few potato chips here and there.
mm-hmm,
And, honestly, and I'd had a little bit of alcohol once in a while. And
mm-hmm,
it was just that little bit of poisoning into the system that set off the events, the cascade of events that eventually led to that diagnosis. So what I
mm-hmm.
had to do is I had to like literally clean it all up again. So, and then
Mhm.
I had to add celery juice, which I think is really helpful. And
I
that's why I
want
tell
to
my
talk about
patients,
celery
yeah,
juice. Yes, I
yeah,
love
yeah. I
that.
tell my patients, like, if they're, sometimes that's all they can do because they're just not, they're so stuck into hamburger culture that they can't undo it, and they can't be antisocial enough to do what we do. So I tell them, just start with the celery juice. So we take a whole stalk of celery. It doesn't have to be organic. Organic's better, of course, but you don't have to pay the extra for the organic. The regular one you get at the grocery store will work. And just put it through a juicer and drink the whole thing once a day. And that's going to jumpstart the anti-inflammatory process in your body. So, I mean, that's stuff from the medical medium, which I know is all witchy and woo woo and all that. But, if the stuff works, you got to implement it, right? So I was desperate enough that I was willing to just go ahead and just be humble enough to try. Because, I'm kind of like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm a whole food, plant-based vegan. It can't help me any. And I was like, you know what, Suzanne, just be humble enough to at least give it a try and see if it
Mhm.
works. And within 3 days, I could feel a significant difference. And within 3 weeks, symptoms completely gone. So, I
I
mean, that's
love
pretty
that.
serious. Yeah. And I always hear about all these women that are suffering from hot flashes and things too. They're just so upset about all this. And I'm just like, I mean, the evidence is already there. We already know half a cup of cooked soybeans a day,
Mhm.
cooked soybeans a day. And it has to be the adult soybeans. It can't be the edamame. It's got to be the actual tofu or the little actual cooked soybeans. And that with the celery juice and the sweet potatoes and the vegan low fat diet, what are we talking about? No hot flashes. That's the hot flashes are literally an inflammatory
Your body
response.
telling you something, right?
It's an inflammatory response, and everybody just thinks it's so normal, and it's not. It's
Mhm.
not.
Let
Yeah.
me ask this: when you added the celery juice, and then did you do anything else differently? But I thought I heard you mention that the symptoms have gone away pretty
Yeah,
much for the.
yeah. I get, if I'm under a lot of stress, or if I get a lot of if I go to a party or something and if I start dipping into the impossible meats and the potato chips, those are all vegan, but not health foods, not
Yes.
health foods. So I have to take my own advice. I have to stuff myself full of sweet potatoes and just drink the celery juice. And it's like just a calming effect on the entire thing. And then you don't have to deal with any of those problems. So as long as
Yeah.
I stay away from garbage like that and drink the celery juice every day, I mean, most people with lupus are taking, medications that turn off your immune system. And I mean, when you turn off your immune system, that's a nice way to end up with cancer, because every single day your immune system is killing cancer cells because every single day all of us make cancer cells every
Mhm.
single day, and our immune system goes and whoop, kill that, whoop, kill that, whoop, kill
Mhm.
that, just like a video game, just taking it out little by little. But all these drugs that they're handing out to everybody now, and all these infusions, those
Mhm.
just turn off the immune system. And when you turn
Right.
off your immune system, you're going to end up with,
Other things.
tuberculosis and cancer. I mean, it's just
That's
not,
why you see those side effects at the end of the medication commercial. I mean, may
can't get
cause this, this, this,
vaccines,
this,
don't
this,
do
and
any
this.
traveling. Have you been sick lately? Do you have this? And it's a horror show, because they have to list that because they are turning off your immune system. And that's what's going to happen. You're going to end up with cancer. And that's not a good thing either. I mean, the things that kill people in the West are, heart disease is number one. That's like 60%. And there's a very giant percentage of people that die from cancer right after that. So those are the two biggies.
How
And it's,
dangerous is that, people that are eating only meat now with this new fad that's going on? Like,
I
that's
mean, have
to
you
me.
seen the DaVita dialysis centers popping up all over the country?
Mhm.
Like dandelions? I mean, they're everywhere because everybody's in kidney failure. And the
Mhm.
sad part is you can't even tell how bad your kidneys are until they're 70% gone. They don't even show up on any blood tests. They have
Wow.
to be 70% damaged before they show up on a blood test as something's going wrong.
And that's because of the excess, like saturated
Protein,
fat
the
protein.
protein,
Okay.
the protein, it has to be excreted through your kidneys, and it just destroys the fat, and the protein just destroy the little filtration system.
One
Yeah,
of
it's
the
really
most,
sad.
like, beneficial things I did, and I didn't do this until, like, I knew all of what everybody said, like meat was bad, beans were good and fruit was good and this and that. Like I had all this knowledge of that.
Mhm.
But when I was like 2023, when I returned back to like mostly raw and got my act
Mhm.
together, got off the processed
Yeah.
foods, that's when I started studying the actual body and realizing what our body goes through just to keep us alive. And like you said, you realize if you put too much of something in, it has to go somewhere. One system has to work harder,
The
you
closed
know.
system. It's a
Yeah.
closed system. Where's all that
So,
excess fat and garbage gonna go? It's got to go
mhm.
somewhere.
And these things don't just have, like, there are things that are genetic and happen. So whenever I put
Yeah.
out a blanket statement, I don't like to do that. But
No.
for the most part, as much as we can, it's just like with our vehicle, we want to keep a good care of it to make it last as long as possible and make it run as well as possible. And that's like, we don't think about that a lot when it comes to our body. And if we can find a way that it makes life enjoyable for us and it keeps us healthy and able to enjoy life, because like what good is it if I can, if we have life but we're not feeling good, and that's, you can be good
Yeah.
for other people and you can, help
Well, I mean,
the
why
people
spend the
around you.
last 30 years of your life preparing to die? That's pretty
Yeah.
miserable. I mean, the last 10 years of your life should be just as good as the ones you're living right now. But I mean,
Hmm.
if they're all like, in a nursing facility or if you're incontinent from garbage eating, and it's a horror show to think about all the horrible. I mean, I see it happening in 35 and 40-year-old patients every single day. It's the beginning of the end already. But because of the quote unquote good medical care that they're going to get a bag of pills and remain fat and sick for the next 30 to 40 years. And they're just going to die of something related to that. But they're going to be at the doctor every 4 to 6 months dealing with all of this stuff from the time they're mid 30s up until they pass away. It's horrible. It's not a way to live,
What
you
would
know?
be a couple of tips for someone brand new to this? Like, what could they do to just get started today that, might even help? Just would,
Just a
what are,
little bit. Dr. Brooke Goldner's green smoothie is a nice way to start. The celery juice is a nice way to start.
mhm,
Just adding more root vegetables in general is a nice way to start. And just, when I tell people, like when I'm trying to help people in my office, I tell them to get rid of the eggs and dairy first, because those are the two things that cause the most health problems and the
mhm,
biggest issues, with people's health. Get rid of the eggs and dairy first, then get rid of all the mammal meats, like all the red meats and, pigs and cows and lambs and goats and all that. And then
mhm,
get rid of the chicken and then get rid of the fish. So that's the
mhm,
order I tell them to go. If they're one of those people that have to walk in baby steps, they can't
mhm.
just hit it like, like you should if you know this information. It's kind of
Yes,
crazy.
and
You're
you
like,
have
you've
a lot
already
of
been told
great.
the building is on fire. Why are you standing in here? Why don't we just jump out the window already? But
Right, right.
if you
If
have
you
to
were
walk
in
down
a
the burning
situation.
staircase, this is how you get out.
Yes, I love it. And that's so true. Like also, like I liked your advice earlier about switching, like from, if you normally have eggs, then try the tofu scramble. And a lot of people think tofu ew, but like I've seen people make these delicious tofu scrambles and they put a
What's
little
about the
drop of
black
black
salt?
salt.
You have to get that
That's
black
so
salt. That's, if you don't
oh
have the black salt, it's not going to taste like eggs. You have to put the
yes.
turmeric in it and you have to put the black salt in it. Otherwise, it's not going to taste like eggs.
And that's amazing that black salt tastes like eggs. It would be like gross and if I wasn't trying to make it into an egg,
It
but
tastes
it
like
is.
sulfur, which is absolutely disgusting. But people, they're used to that sulfury disgustingness of eggs, and they
Eggs,
just think
right?
it's
It
so
means it's
normal to be eating things that come out of a bird's butt. I'm just like, what are you doing? Think about what you're doing. You try to tell people
yeah.
that, but they're so conditioned to just keep doing it. So I'm like, they think tofu's gross when they're literally eating stuff that comes out of a bird's butt.
And
Yeah.
stuff coming out of a cow with pus and never
Yes,
mind.
out of the udder of a cow that's made
Utter,
for its
it's utterly
baby.
gross.
It's utterly gross. Yes, it's utterly
We
disgusting.
need a T-shirt that says that. Oh,
Dairy is utterly disgusting. Yes.
I was gonna say the celery juice. I realized I did a video on it a while back when I got into it. When we were talking about the circulation issues from sitting at my desk too much. I
Yeah.
looked up and I think I found. I don't know if it wasn't Medical Medium, but it might have been. I don't know who it was. It was a guy that wrote a book about celery juice, and he was talking about like most normal people, like, well, I'm usually like, oh, eat the food whole, but the juicing of it, actually, I've read, because we wouldn't eat a whole stalk of celery, like in,
Not
well,
enough.
unless you were like at a party or something, you kept hitting up the veggie tray over and over.
Yeah, it's not
But
enough to put out the fire. You're only going to eat that a
yeah,
couple. You're going
and
to a couple chews. Yeah.
doesn't the fibrous, like, it removes that, it opens the minerals up, like one of the only things that he recommended to juice it was because of that, like that
I'm
celery,
not
something is
sure.
in
You
it,
know,
like,
I honestly was like, I was in so much pain at that point in my life. Like, I can't tell you how horrible it is, to drive home from work and, having been the last half of the day just spent limping around my patients who are just like making jokes about, ha ha ha, looks like you need our help too. Ha ha ha,
right, right.
and then
I'm
I
sure you had to
drive
hear that.
home and I literally have 15 stairs to my front door and I
Mm,
literally could not get up those stairs because my knees were so hot and red and the size of softballs from the pain I was in. And
mm,
that's
that's right.
incredible. That's incredible to turn that around with just celery juice. I don't know what's in the celery juice, but that's what turned it around. And that's pretty
It turned
amazing.
around my condition too. Like it totally healed my circulation issues. I mean, along with the diet I was eating,
Yeah.
and I wasn't
Yeah.
at that time eating at my best because I was still cycling back into this phase where I got back into my raw, foods and whole foods. But I don't even remember what I was going to say. It's just been such an
The
amazing
celery juice,
conversation.
yeah, the celery juice is really, really. You were talking about how the juicing releases some kind of something. I didn't even study what it was or go too much deeply into what it was actually doing. I just was so grateful that it was helping.
Just like, thank you, celery, right?
Yes,
We're
I don't
trying
even
to,
care what the celery's doing. And, I've heard a lot of people say, well, you're throwing out the fiber and that's terrible for you. And I'm
but
like, trust me, I'm
sometimes,
already eating 50 grams of fiber a day. I don't need
exactly.
the extra celery. I mean, it's always awesome to eat, pieces of celery as well. But for whatever was going on in my body medicinally, I needed the celery juice for that. That's what kind of put
Exactly.
out, I call it a forest fire that put
How
out the
long did
forest
that
fire.
take, do you think?
Well, I was in pain. I was in serious pain for about a year before I figured out the celery juice business. And after I started doing the celery juice, it took about 3 days to notice a difference and
Wow.
3 weeks for the pain to be completely gone.
Oh my goodness, that's
Yeah.
amazing. In fact, everybody go stalk out some celery right now because
Don't
we're
take
all
it all
gonna
though.
need
I need some
celery.
too.
Exactly, right? Now I
I mean, I look
probably
like
just
a
messed
crazy
up.
person. My grocery cart is filled with like 8 bags of celery. Everybody's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, that's 8 days worth of juice for me. So.
I eat it every day, and like lately for some reason I've just been like, if I'm busy or whatever and I don't have time to like sit and eat my salad as slowly as I eat, and or like I came up with this when I was having like some tooth issues before. I'll put my salad into a smoothie, which some people
Yeah,
might
there you
think is
go.
gross, but throw a
Those are
little
Dr.
tomato
Brooke
sauce
Goldner
in,
smoothies. Yeah. Yeah, I would
basically,
say like
right?
to get rid of the lupus, what I did was I did the celery juice, 3 giant baked sweet potatoes, a gallon of water a day, and a big, huge green salad with a bean dressing on top, not a traditional salad dressing. So there you
That's
go. That's the
amazing.
cure. That's the cure you all been waiting for.
I love it. And I love that you also seem to keep things. I love your videos. You always have like a lot of them have your dogs in it, and you
Yeah,
have
the dogs are fun, right?
your
Yeah.
you have like a sense of humor about it and lighthearted, which is cool because people need that. You don't want somebody like screaming at you in a
I
way,
scream a little.
but
In
you
fact, I scream a
scream, but
lot.
in a
Yeah.
fun way, right? We want to scream in a
It's
fun way.
supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be fun, Jen.
Dawn said, yes, she drinks her salad now. LOL. I did eat a salad last night. I was like, you know what? I'm ready to have some substance in it today. But yeah, I've been drinking the salad. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting really lazy now. I'm just drinking my
Well, if you're in a
salads.
hurry, it's a good way to do it. There's so
Yes.
many, it's just like, getting super healthy is just like saving money. Okay. So there's like, you have to actually just start the process in order to be successful with it. But
Mhm.
everybody has all these little picky, subtle little nuances. And they're like trying to make that sound like, oh, you can't do this and oh, you can't do that. Hey, just get going. Okay. Just get
Yeah.
going. Walk that path and you will find exactly what works for you.
I
You
love
know?
it. You got to figure things out along the way, like we all have,
Yeah.
but you got to start somewhere. So, tell us again exactly where we can find you. I know you mentioned TikTok.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube as Vegan Physical Therapy Doc.
Mhm.
I also have another YouTube channel with Richard Hubbard and Rob Lee called the Plant-Based Coaches Podcast. And we would really, really love for people to go and subscribe to that, because I think we're at 651 as of today, and we need to be up to 1,000 in order to get some of the bigger plant-based people to come onto our podcast.
We already had
And
the little one, me. I
yes,
came on when it
and
was
we
like,
got Dr. Furman over and over
I
again too. But I
saw
mean,
that.
so I know he's like so amazing. I'm so pumped, and we've had so many of these amazing, amazing people. Just Ruth Heydrich came on there recently. I'm just like, oh my God, these guys are amazing, and I'm so so grateful to be able to talk to these really big names in the plant-based
And look,
community.
you're like,
But
that's
some
how
of
the
them have
hierarchy
like,
goes. I'm
yeah,
excited
but
to
some of
talk to
them have
you.
like this weird requirement that we have to have 1,000. So if you could just please, please, please go over and subscribe to the Plant-Based Coaches Podcast on YouTube, that would be so, so helpful. And then me personally, I also have, Facebook, and then I have a TikTok channel called Vegan Physical Therapy Doc. And that's where I, put up a lot of recipes and a lot of videos and things like that also on there. So yeah, we just keep trying to like, put your fingers out into every single thing that we can to help the most people possible, because nobody's getting paid for this, Jen. This is all done out of the love and generosity in our hearts, that we just want people to get healthy, just get healthy and get their lives back. It's so important to get your life back and to be healthy and to be well enough to do the things that you want to do. The goal is not to live forever. The goal is to be as young as possible, as long as possible, you know?
I love that. I
Yeah.
definitely love that. Well, don't forget, everyone, say happy birthday to Dr. Suzanne here in the comments. If you're watching this, give her a happy birthday, and I'll send them to her as they come
Thanks.
in. And it has been such a great, conversation to have. You have such knowledge and your background. I love the setup you have just in your professional life. And like, you said, like, it's something that we're all doing out of our heart. But if you
Yeah.
do want some professional services, she
Yeah.
offers
We're
that
doing the
too.
plant-based coaches. Yeah.
So it's been such a blessing to talk to you. Is there anything else in closing, any words you want to give us? Because I know now I've really kept you over time. I'm sure you have things to get back to, your festivities. The dogs
That's
are probably like,
fine.
oh wait, you got to
Oh
tell
no,
us
they went
real
to
quick.
sleep somewhere. They
Oh
went to sleep
goodness.
somewhere. Yeah.
Maybe we can do a whole nother podcast at some point. I know you're busy, but maybe we can
Yeah, on
talk about your.
plant-based dogs. Yeah.
Yes, the
That's
plant-based dogs.
fun.
I love that they're vegan too. And so anything in the closing you want to say, so I don't start to ask you another 40 questions?
No, just thank you so much, Jen, for all you do to make the world a better place as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing with us your amazing plants formation. And everyone, Dawn, thank you so much for being in the comments. She's J&J Video Reacts. Richard, thank you for coming. Tessa, I really appreciate you being here and all your amazing comments. And anybody else who's catching the replay, we appreciate you. And jump on board with this. We can make it easy for you. And thank you again, Dr. Suzanne. I really appreciate all your time and the things that you do for the world.
Thank you.